Om Sahanam Bhavatu Sahanam Bhunaktu Sahadevyam Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti. We have studied about the different ways of thinking, and then we have studied about the portions we apply in thinking. Now, both of these are very important because if we don't know how to think, then we will simply memorize these texts. And that has been the very sad state of education in this country. Education itself and including religious education. So today, if someone tells you, I know the Bhagavad Gita by heart, and say all 18 chapters, all 18 chapters, then we're all very impressed. So, oh wow, knows all 18 chapters by heart. We have come to respect the fact that people have great memories. Knowing the 18 chapters by heart is not important. What is important is any part of that 18 chapters you, and you that person. That's what's important. Yesterday, somebody was telling me that their dream is to be a Vedanta teacher. It's not about being a Vedanta teacher. It is about being a Vedantin, a person who lives Vedanta. And when you live Vedanta, you don't have to worry about teaching. People will come and draw out the knowledge. Just as no lake advertises, but everyone goes there and helps themselves to the water. So the important thing is that we become people worthy enough that somebody would like to learn something from. And for that, you don't need a platform. You don't need any of that. Just live your life. And people will come and take from you whatever they require. We need not worry how will all this knowledge go to others. That we need not worry about. We need not say, oh my God, I know so much. Will I die with all my knowledge? I want to give everybody. No need. If you have something valuable and there is a person who recognizes value, they will come and take it. And if they don't recognize value, if you try to give it, they will still not take it. So, what's your problem in that? So, we must know how to reflect and we must practice some cautions in reflection. One of them is over analysis, like bal ki khal ukhadna. I mean, now group discussions have got much better. But initially, when new people come to group discussions, the chaos they create, and like first, when you hear the question, the answer, question is something, answer is something, koi talmel hi nahi hai. And then over a period of time, it gets better and better and better. And sometimes we analyze so much that we analyze something on which there's no substance. One very interesting analysis which when I was doing my MA in English, You're all familiar with this poem, The Road Less Traveled, right? Everybody knows the poem, loves the poem. It says that in the woods he saw two roads diverged, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Everybody knows a very famous poem. Now, what is the author trying to talk about? About choices we make in life. And we come to forks. All the time we come to choices. There's a fork. You have to choose X or you have to choose Y. And based on how you make that choice, the rest of life will unfold. Suppose you come to a certain row, fork, marry or not to marry. Then you choose marry. Then all your choices will become like that. So, if you go in that particular direction and you choose not to marry, then now you've set off on another track. Like this in life, we're constantly meeting these forks. And they go on and on and on and open up more choices, and you go wherever it takes you. And this is what the author is talking about. And he said, I chose based, I took the path less traveled. Simple enough. I mean, as a philosopher, you understand. But now, is that enough? If you are an analytical person, absolutely not. You want to know which is the wood he was in, which is the horse he was riding on, what day was it? They also want to know what day it was. All this is what we call overanalysis. It is irrelevant to the point he is making. Constantly you will find this. The conversation is on something irrelevant to the point. And when it's irrelevant, then of course uski analysis karte raho. Right? So the first thing you have to watch out for is, are you falling into this trap? Second thing you watch out for is a wrong type of analysis. How do you get over analysis?
Look at the bigger picture.
Very good. The second is a wrong kind of analysis. That you're on the wrong track. You're not gone off the point, you're on the wrong track. And how do you deal with that? Remember the example of Samuel Johnson. It's a wonderful example he's given us. So how do you deal with doing wrong analysis?
Look at the ground reality.
Very good. Compare it to ground reality. You're on this, you say, okay, I've analyzed and now I found out that Israel and Palestine are best friends. Look at the ground reality. All my analysis says that they are in high amity. Look at the ground reality. There's a war going on over there. Or there's a temporary truce going on over there. So you know that it's wrong analysis because it doesn't fit the ground reality. Then the third wrong thing we do when we are thinking about things is, remember, no one is deferring decisions. We use our analysis often as a method to not decide. So we go on analyzing, we go on thinking. Even when you go to a person to ask for advice, you will go on repeating the question over and over again. Even after the person has given the advice, you will repeat the question. Because basically, you cannot hold the bull by the horns. You just can't do that. This is where the problem is. Too frightened to make the decision. Therefore, what should you do?
Deadline.
Take a decision.
Very good. Give a deadline, give a date that by this date I have to decide. And you can take your time. You say 1 month, you say 2 months, you say 5 months, you say whatever you want. But give a deadline. Not doesn't have to be tomorrow or day after. Say 6 months. No problem. But in the 6 months, you have to then decide. Then the third problem that we face in this analysis is in caution, in reflection, that we must remember. We have to remember these things. Because remember, when you're reflecting, you are, fill in the blanks, when you're reflecting, you are alone. So nobody on earth can do this for you. You just have to do it yourself. So third thing, in the fourth one in caution is the indecision caused by greed. The reason people can't decide very often in life is because they want to have their cake and eat it too. Just can't decide because you want everything. You say, shall I marry girl X or girl Y? And you can't decide. Why is it that you can't decide? Because you want the qualities of girl X and you want the qualities of girl Y or boy Y. And therefore, there's no decision. Because you want everything. Dunya mein sab kuch nahi milta. You have to decide what are the important things and focus on it. Because just think of it. No matter how good a person is, no matter how perfect a person is for you, can you not always think of one or two things more they could have had? Okay, suppose you start. Okay, what kind of a husband do I want? I'm saying husband because I am seeing only ladies in front of. So what kind of a husband do I want? So I'll say, okay, he should be healthy, he should be good looking, he should be wealthy,
loving, understanding,
interested in Vedanta, whatever. I make a list of 20 qualities that I want my husband to have. Let us say I meet a person with all these 20 qualities. Then will I be satisfied? Absolutely not. Because, okay, let's say he's interested in Vedanta. But you go to these classes and he wants to go to another person's classes. Now there's a fight on that. Both are interested in Vedanta, but now they have different teachers. There is no end to it. Okay, suppose both are going to the same teacher. Now are you happy? No, of course not. Because I want to do the Bhagavad Gita text with this teacher and you want to do the Vedanta treatise with this teacher. Again, fight. There is no end to this. We can always find more things. Always. Therefore, all you end up doing is becoming
Indecisive.
indecisive. Very good. Because ये भी चाहिए, ये भी चाहिए, ये भी चाहिए. It's the nature of the mind. सब कुछ चाहिए, सब कुछ मुझे दे दो. But that's not how it's going to be. So no point going on and on analyzing when actually the problem is not the analysis at all. The problem was
Greed.
The problem was greed. Very good. Then the next caution we must apply is worry. Many people think they are analyzing when all they are doing is they're worrying. They go on and on and on and on and on. Now, I wish I could record for you what I hear, because then you all will so easily be able to tell. But actually, you can record yourself also, because most people do that, and you'll be able to see that while I'm thinking, I'm not thinking, all I'm doing is worrying. So, how do you deal with it?
Write it down
Write it down
and keep
Close the
revisiting it. Close the book, then keep revisiting it.
close the book, put it away. When you have something further to say, you come back and write again. Say, I will not worry without writing. So that's so uncomfortable, right? That you have to go to your desk and start worrying. So therefore, you will tend to cool off. But write it down. Write down your question, write down your solution, write down the problems that you're feeling with it, write it all down. And the sixth one is these, it's a little subtle to understand, which is that you don't focus on yourself during reflection. You don't focus on yourself means you try not to think of yourself while you're studying Vedanta or you're studying anything. The tendency is always to bring it back to myself. But we have to remember that the purpose of Vedanta is to forget about our equipment, to forget about ourselves. That is its purpose. So if I keep bringing myself in, it becomes counterproductive. And this is very difficult to tell. So like Mamita said last time, I understand a point because I see how it's connected to me. So obviously, all knowledge has to flow from the known to the unknown, obviously. But you have to be very careful in these things because nothing that we do in our path should emphasize our personality. If the purpose of our path is to become the self, is to be the self, to see how I am not this body, mind, intellect, I am the self. If that is our purpose, then what use is it for us to go on emphasizing the body, mind, and intellect? So therefore, when you're studying, it's very, very important that you keep this in mind. You don't forget it. It's very easy to slip into it being about me. So even if you hear something, or you hear, oh, this person is so objective, then you think, oh, I was so objective in that instance, or I was not so objective in that instance. Either way, the thought is on oneself. So you can say, in that instance, it led to this, whatever, according to you, it led to. So that it's depersonalized somehow. Whatever method you wish to. And the seventh caution in reflection is that remember, just like your muscles require rest.
Rest after thinking.
Just as the muscles require rest, so too your brain. If you don't give it that, then you will go mad. And I mean that literally. Please take this point very seriously. For 35 years, I think, 35 years, right? I have been involved in the study of Vedanta. As a student, as in various roles, 35 years. If I were to tell you the number of people who have gone mad, you will be shocked. Gone mad, I mean mad. One person had to be put in the asylum. So please do not take this lightly. Just like if you over-exercise, your muscle can tear. And then you can't exercise. You can't even lift what a normal person can. So too with over-reflection, the mental muscle tears. And when that tears, there is no remedy here. So please don't take it lightly. You're supposed to study for 1 hour in the morning, at max 1.5 hours, at absolute max. And if you like, you can maybe study another 1 hour in the day. That's it. That's absolutely it. Now, this is the negative side of it. But the positive side of it is that when you moderate your studies that way, you will find your comprehension levels improve. In fact, it's so important that the Gita, if you remember, says that yoga is not meant for one who eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or sleeps too little. That balance which we maintain is an inherent part of personal growth. Because without that balance, everything becomes useless. So when we rest after thinking, what happens is there are laws in this world that function on their own. I mean, we have got nothing to do, right? The laws exist. And these laws will make sure that your comprehension takes place. You don't need to worry about it. You need to just do your bit. No more, no less. If you do too little, you learn nothing. If you do too much, you will go mad. But if you do the right amount, then very surprisingly, you will learn more than anticipated. It's a very strange thing that you can try for yourself and see what happens. I mean, don't try too much, but try balancing and see how ideas just come to you. Komal, you had something to say?
Yes, just it came to the mind like those who are really into all this only, then rest of the time, 1 hour morning, 1 hour, what to do? Reflection, Manan Chintan, or your routine work, working, household work, that is okay. Like, or whatever job you are doing, or
Yes, you can do volunteer work, you can do bhajans, you can do yoga, you have your routine activities. So
only that study part, reading the book, that is study.
Not reading, reflecting.
Reflecting and reading both 1 hour.
Yes, the combination.
It's not that reading is 1 hour, then reflecting can be any time. No.
Reflection is a disciplined thinking on the amount you have. But reflection ऐसे ही तो मन घूमने लग जाता है.
हाँ, मतलब वो बोलते हैं ना कि मनन चिंतन बहुत जरूरी है उसके बाद. तो that मनन चिंतन also should be for a specific period of time only, not whole day.
Yes, definitely. Rest of the time you have other yogas to do, you have your normal activity to do. There's plenty.
Yeah.
There is only 24 hours in the day, and it goes like this.
7, 8 to you sleep only, and then other activities you are doing.
Yeah, and so much. I mean, we can do so much karma yoga.
Right.
Do bhakti yoga.
हाँ.
सारा है.
तो ये जरूरी नहीं है कि पूरा दिन मनन चिंतन करना है उस पे.
Absolutely not. It's bad.
Should not be. That's what you mean to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bharat?
Yeah, so Janki, on this point, we said that laws will take care of it. How do we mean it?
Nobody knows actually, but that's what happens. We don't know how the causal relationships all work. But when you do it in a particular way, like for instance, now you are lifting weights, right? And you know that I have to lift so much weights in the day and then I have to rest. I do my legs, then I can't do legs for another 3 days. Then 3 days you didn't do legs, but then on the third day your legs have become stronger. How did this happen? I don't know. Somebody will have to do the research. You know how that happens? I mean, they know a little, it tore and then it healed and all the story they do, but it's quite it's what can I say? You can always find out more, right? But this we do know that this is what happens.
Okay, thanks.
Pravesh?
Hariom Janaki ji. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, my question is actually almost two weeks last before 2 weeks I asked about morning studies. So from almost 2 weeks I'm means I used to wake up at 4 o'clock and started reading daily for 1 hour. Because I told you that I used to read in the night, but I changed my habit, and I'm reading in the morning.
You need a standing ovation.
just because of you, ma'am. You are the motivation for that. Ma'am, I would like to share my experience that during the daytime, I know and I'm also able to realize that what I did wrong and where should I have to correct. And means in the morning, I decide I will not do these things and those things, but something triggers for a moment or a means moment or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I'll be able to control myself. But the things that is already that is already in my habit comes automatically after means analyzing so much of things, means how long this process takes to improve ourselves. Sometimes I feel why should I done this and means why I did all these things. So
Well, what can I say? How long improvement takes, we cannot know. But what we do know is that when improvement takes place, the individual themselves very rarely knows this. Like, for instance, if you look at your face in the mirror now, and you looked at it yesterday, and you looked at it 5 days ago, and you looked at it when you were 20 years old, and when you were 15-year-old, did you ever look at your face and say, oh, my face has changed? No, right? You always felt it. Was it like between yesterday and today, has your face changed?
but actually what I'm experiencing that
No,
I
go step by step. Go step by step. So point number one is people do not know that they have grown. How are we explaining that? Because look at your own face. No day did you get up and say, oh, my face is different today. And yet, if you look at your photograph from 5 years ago, you'll see a distinct difference. So growth also is like that very often. There's a little bit going on. You don't know this. So it is best that you forget about whether you've grown and just concentrate on doing. Because once you're getting the causation right, the effect will have to be correct. There is no alternative to this. Even the gods cannot stop this from happening. So definitely, if you're doing the right thing, the growth is taking place. And you're saying, no, I can't see growth. I used to maybe get very angry and I still get very angry. You think you get very angry, but it will definitely be less than before. It will be less frequent. The intensity will reduce. All these things will keep on happening. Focus on doing the work. Focus on doing the work well. Focus on being perfect as far as the action is concerned. The work we are doing for growth. Everything else will look after itself. And if you say, no, but I did so much, I didn't grow. You grew. You are growing. Don't worry about it. The effect cannot be denied.
thank you, ma'am.
Deepranj?
So, what happens to like, how does one recover when the mental fabric has torn, like when they go crazy?
It's terrible. The whole journey of recovery is awful. I mean, so depends on how bad you did it. The first and most important thing is studies will come to zero, absolute zero, for maybe 6 months, depending on what is the situation, of course. But the first action you take is zero. Now, we don't want to reach that stage, right? So you have to be very, very careful that you don't exceed. Here, prevention is better than cure. Cure is terrible here. It's really terrible. Don't even dream that we can go anywhere close to that. If you feel you're overstrained, absolutely stop. No studying for a week, for a month. Just can't do it. Because it's like you pulled a muscle and then you're exercising. You make it much worse. You'll have to wait. At the physical level, if you pull a muscle, after how much time can you run again? At the intellectual level, you do it, it may take years. So don't no going anywhere in that direction. And if you feel slightly also anytime that I think I overdid it, no studying, stop, zero. Because we're taking no risk over here. Okay, but this is of course the negative side. The positive side is when you do it correctly. How, like a miracle, you learn things that you are surprised you learned. So let's get on to the positive side of this thing. Yeah, Komal?
Yeah, same thing goes true for even students also. Like we should know, like I'm a teacher and I'm a parenting coach, so we should advise them the same thing. Don't overstudy the things, and but they can do it because their only job is studying and getting marks and all. तो वो थोड़ा ज़्यादा कर सकते हैं. It's not that only like whole day they're in the school and then they are going tuition and their self-study, homework. So isn't it over for them also?
Yeah, I mean that you'll have to decide based on the child herself or himself. This is for reflection.
Yeah, okay.
Reflection is a very is some of the highest effort. The only effort more than reflection is meditation.
Yeah, that is knowledge actually. Now, I myself is getting that is not reflection they are doing. They are gaining knowledge, and they have much more capacity to gain knowledge at that age. So
Yeah.
it's okay for them.
It's okay means it's not okay. Even there's a limit.
They have to balance the things.
But of course, they're not 1 hour, but there is a limit.
They need more.
Yeah, that's why they have to, one of the ways of students doing well in school is to go play sport, go do music, all of these.
Yeah, extracurricular activities. That's why along with
If you just make the child study, they'll go mad.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
Okay, so when we allow the mind to do passive thinking means you're not putting in any effort here. On its own, some laws are functioning. Then what happens is, very often, one of the mechanisms, Bharat, if you want to consider this mechanism, one of the mechanisms that takes place is you forget that you want to learn this thing. And it's a very important thing to forget. Because it's a strange phenomenon of this world that the more you long for something, the less you get it. So if you want to learn, you have to forget that you want to learn. If you want to achieve, you have to forget that you want to achieve. If you want a good relationship, you have to forget that you want a good relationship. If you want to sleep, you have to forget that you want to sleep. It's a very, very strange thing in this world. So when you say, close your book, you say, oh, I'm done. Even if you have not solved whatever problem it was, some internal laws will function and your answer will come to you. Yes, Uttara?
Jayanti, on this point, I just wanted to ask you, because it has been a belief that our flow of thoughts, you have also explored that whatever we want to achieve, our thought process should be on that. And now you are saying that we should forget about it.
Correct.
So it's a
Absolutely.
paradox.
As everything else in Vedanta, you have to be single pointed. Okay? You can't think of anything else, but you have to be able to not think of it too. for instance, suppose you want to make undio. Okay, now undio season is coming. Are you going to make undio?
Yes. I'm going to send you.
Okay, very good. Uttara lives opposite my house, so that's a believable statement. So now you're going to make undio. Now, when you go to the market, undio, all of you all know undio? Yeah, maybe not undio. Undio is this dish that Gujaratis make that have about 3 million ingredients in them. So when you go to the market to buy the ingredients for the undio, now you can't afford to forget, right? You have to remember I'm buying one. Otherwise, you will start making bengan ka bharta in the middle. You can't do that. You're buying these ingredients. Then you come home, you have to clean those 1 million things that you're supposed to clean and then start making the undio. Okay, and you put it on the gas, you've cleaned everything, you put it on the gas. Now, if you're in your head, you're going to carry on, I have to make undio, I have to send it to so and then these people will like it, or suppose they don't like it, all this is going on, you are not going to be able to focus on making the undio. So when you're making it, you have to forget I want to make it and what all is going to happen if I make it, and just focus on putting the ingredients in the dish. That's it. So in one sense of it, you are only focused on your goal, and in one sense, you're not thinking of your goal at all. So when you are about to start action, only goal. When you start action, nothing but action. So unless you're able to forget end product, like even if you're doing your accounts and all these numbers have to tally, you all know, right? Uttara looks after all our accounts and she has to somehow make it all tally. A terrible job. I don't envy this for her. And otherwise, if she makes a mistake, we lose all our whatever certifications and all of that. So terrible. This is a terrible job for a poor thing. Oh, by the way, we just got our 10 AB. So congratulations. And now, when you're doing the accounts, they have to tally at the end, right? But when you are doing it, you can't think of the tallying. You have to think about this entry which you're about to do. So it's a dual thing you're playing. On one thing is only goal, and the other aspect is forget goal, only action. If
While
you
practicing it, it is very difficult to balance all the time.
there's no part of this which is easy, Uttara. No part at all. It's like being on a cycle. Before you learn to be on the cycle, it seems impossible. I have to sit also, I have to move this also, and I have to remember this one first, this one second. Or even when you're driving, I have to remember this and I have to remember that. And then you keep doing it, and then you start chatting while you're driving or chatting while you're cycling. So it just becomes, a lot of it, nature just takes over for us. We just have to do our bit. And nature does like 90% of it. It's an amazing thing, right? We do our bit. We decided we want to put up Vedanta University. We did whatever we can. Each one did whatever they can. And then nature did everything else. Imagine, we're only 24 lakhs away from buying the plot. Like, how? It's like a miracle, right? How? Each one did his thing. Each one is doing their own thing. And somehow we are where we are.
It's
How?
amazing, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, like
Last year we were zero.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And you know exactly how zero we were. From zero, it was zero. And then we said, we will set up Vedanta University. People were so, पागल है ये लोग ना फूटी कौड़ी है इनके पास और चल पड़ी यूनिवर्सिटी लगाने. And yet, here we are. How did this happen? Nature, laws, That's what in Bhaja Govindam he says. Kim tava nasti niyanta. Oh, Vatula. Vatula means, oh, distracted one. Why do you worry? Kim tava nasti niyanta. Isn't there an ordena for you? Isn't there the law of causation? Isn't there nature? Isn't there whatever you want to call it? Why do we have to think about it? That will just come on its own. So I will forget what I want. I will do my action. So in this case, in the terms of digesting knowledge, my action was morning study. Full stop. Ab to ho gaya. Now I forget. Now let whatever laws function, let them function. My job is to do the right action. Full stop.
Thank you.
It does seem very funny. One day they'll say, focus on the goal. You'll never get anything if you're not focused on the goal. Next day they say, forget about your goal. And if Papa, you people make up your mind once and for all and let me know. But the fact is, all these things are true. But it can be very frustrating. Okay, so all good so far. Shall we go to what is the result? If you do your reflection well, and if you avoid if you're cautious, you avoid all the errors that could possibly happen, then we come to the next level of knowledge known as intuition, the development of epiphany. We finished 7, right? We finished it or we hadn't finished it? Can intuition or epiphany be cultivated? When one has done sufficient thinking on a subject, followed by sufficient disinterest, usually achieved by rest or break, there comes a sudden dawn of understanding, a new idea or a new connection. This is called epiphany. Haven't you all noticed it? Right? You are thinking something, and then suddenly you're doing something else, and then it strikes you. This is an ability that exists in us. Why it exists, I don't know, but it exists in us. So please use it. Intuition is digested knowledge. When knowledge is thoroughly digested by the intellect, it flashes back in the form of intuition. Now, intuition is, many people have this problem that intellect always sounds like effort, right? You analyze, you thought, you reflected. It always sounds like there's a lot of effort. But the wonderful thing about it is all this effort eventually, actually, it's true at every level of the personality, even at the physical level. All your physical effort, however much you put into it, ends up becoming mechanical. Isn't it? Whatever you have done and done and done and done, now you can do it without thought. I mean, it's like second nature. So same thing at the level of the intellect. You have thought and thought and thought. So now when you are asked a question, it's like instant. So it seems impulsive maybe, but actually it is a result of years and years and years of having gone down that track. So when you had that, or simple things, even in your own house, if it's all dark and you're wandering around at night, you don't bump into so many things. But if a thief came into your house in the middle of the night and it was so dark, he will bump into you. Why? He doesn't know that. But you have worked down that thing so many times that most likely you will not bump into anything. So whether it's the physical level or intellectual level, whatever you have done and done and done and done and done becomes almost mechanical. Almost mechanical means you do it very fast. There's no further effort involved. So intuition is digested knowledge. When knowledge is thoroughly digested by the intellect, it flashes back in the form of intuition. A conclusion for which there has been apparently no thinking. So you're not seeing any effort. The reason you're not seeing effort is because the effort was done in the past. One cannot clearly state why one thinks so. One knows it without conscious reasoning. Any area where you have done a lot of work, you will know. However, the converse is not true. This is very important in all things pertaining to the intellect. Converse is not true. All things that have not been reasoned are not intuition. Just because it came fast as a flash doesn't mean that's intuition. Many things are mistakenly assumed to be intuition only on the basis of having suddenly come to mind. Whims and fancies, conditioning, hopes, and simple biases may come disguised as intuition. Much goes under the moniker of intuition, which would best be relegated to the waste bin. You're calling all sorts of wrong things intuition. Wrong means it's not intuition. Then how would one know? How would one know whether it was intuition or a mere whim? Since intuition is the outcome of digested knowledge, one can check if there is any likelihood of having digested knowledge about it. Have we spent time in conscious application on this? A doctor may have intuition about the illness of a patient, an investigative officer about a case. A mother may have an intuition about her child, or a critic about an artist. In such situations, one has been in the area for a long period, and the intellect has digested much information without us being aware. In such a scenario, the intellect makes a spot judgment. Because you've done this so much. And that is the other reason you may have noticed. Do you remember the first quality of a jnani?
Humility.
Humility, amanitvam. No man, no ego. You know why? Because you understood that actually you have very little to do with what you know. You did what you had to, no doubt. But so many laws have functioned. And the consequence of it is this wonderful intuition. You cannot demand intuition, right? You cannot demand any of this. You cannot make any of this happen. Then what are you claiming as your own? So once you get that, what ego, what arrogance of knowledge will be stupid? Because your own knowledge is never under your, what should I say? Under your control. It's a very interesting thing. Even being a teacher, many people say, oh, this teacher is a very good teacher. And maybe the person has some ability to teach. But how good a teacher is going to be in any particular situation is, dependent upon what?
The students.
The interest of the students. It's an incredible thing. Now, many of us are going around with a begging bowl and telling people, Acha, please, kuch de do hamare liye. We are going around saying that to people. How well we present whatever we want to say to them is a large part of it is their interest level. There are some people who meet you and say, oh, this is superb. And they ask you questions and say, oh, wow, this all sounds so wonderful. And they draw out knowledge from you. And some people are like, duh. You don't know what to say after some time to them. What to say to them. So even what you say is so dependent on who is listening to you. Why would we attribute anything to ourselves? Why? Can we get intuition on demand? Can we get any of this on demand? We do our bit, then all this mysterious stuff happens and something comes out at the other end. And we say, oh, I did it. How? So we have to understand the role of X, some unknown, something unknown that we are not even going to know. I mean, we'll know more and more and more about it, but it's way too vast for us to know. So there is me putting in some effort to the best of my ability, a small thing. Then there's this whole mysterious thing going on. And on the other side, something fabulous is happening. Amazing, no? That's why they say in Bhakti Yoga, they say things like, you take one step towards God and God will take 100 steps towards you. Because what we do is so little. And then what comes out? You do your Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. You just do that much. It's nothing phenomenal. And then before you know it, you become a great saint. You realize the self. How did this happen? No one knows. Yeah, Deepraj?
Does this happen only on the spiritual path or any goal that you set for yourself?
Everything. Like
Because I've seen people struggle for a long time and not getting anywhere.
yes, people do struggle. There are so many people who have struggled and struggled and struggled all the way up to their 50s, 60s, 70s. And then suddenly it changes. Now, we can't say when it will change, how it will change. There are some people who achieve success in teenage years. You know, they start a mighty business or whatever, and then they get burnt out. You know, it's just so much. We think that, oh, he achieved early. But like, you know, this sad part is like the gymnasts and all. You know, the gymnasts, they become Olympic champions in their teens. And then what? And that's the end, right? So we have all these notions that, oh, he's worked and he hasn't achieved success. The whole thing is not visible to us. If he has worked genuinely, if he has done everything he has to do, the gods cannot stop that success. Unless he's not doing something he should be doing. You know that story about God and one man was praying to God for the lottery ticket, no? You know that story? No? One man was praying to God for lottery ticket. 5 years passed, 10 years passed, 15 years passed, 20 years passed. And he prayed and he prayed and he prayed and he prayed and he said, God, come down, meet me and, you know, give me this, make me win the lottery. So nothing happened. Then 20 years later, God came and said, and the man said to him, oh Lord, I've been praying to you for 20 years. You didn't make me win the lottery at all. I said, I wanted you to, I was trying my best to get you to win the lottery. Then why am I not winning the lottery? The man said. God said, but at least buy a ticket. कुछ तो करो भैया and make you win. So if you have not done your whole, what you're supposed to do, then where is the question of God doing his bit? But you buy a ticket. How tiny? And God makes you win the lottery. Like, what happened here? So if we don't do our thing, then we are at fault. But if we do our thing, then it's just a question of a lot of struggle, but then eventually the struggle will bear fruit sometime. And you can ask yourself, is there something that I'm leaving undone? If you're sure there's nothing left undone, don't worry. Struggle. That's what is needed for me. Komal?
Yes, ma'am. Something came to the mind regarding what we are discussing. Like maybe if you are not able to achieve what you are doing your efforts for, maybe it is your past prarabdha, what we call it, or karmas, which are also making a part in not getting our bit what we want right now, because they are also coming along. It's not only the present thing, maybe the past ones also playing a part there. But
Yeah.
if for that, we should not blame that past, but let's do what our bit now. Does it happen? Like, do they play any role? Our past things or
Yeah.
whatever?
I mean, what you said is completely correct, but you have to understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
You say past karmas and all of that. What does it mean? Actions create vasanas.
Hmm.
Vasanas are propelling behavior.
Hmm.
So it's not your karmas are coming with you, means your vasanas are making you do whatever you're doing.
Hmm.
So if you're doing anything incorrectly, it's because you trained yourself to do it incorrectly.
Hmm.
Now you want to train yourself to do it correctly. The past is coming with you, means you
Yes,
will
it
have
will
to,
take a little more time, maybe.
yeah, means you have to erase what you have done, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Suppose you put on 45 kgs and now you are 145. For you to come back to 100, you will have to remove those 45. So your past is coming with you. But when you say it like that, it sounds poetical. But
Yeah.
actually, it is just a matter of what you've done.
Yes. So that's why for some people it takes less, and for some people it takes a little longer. We can just reason it out like this sometimes.
Just reason it out.
Mhm.
Actually, suppose I ask you, how long will it take for a person to achieve a PhD? What's your answer?
4 5 years, whatever the time is required for that.
Now, suppose I tell you this person has never joined school,
Hmm.
right? So
So
you're
first he has
asking,
to join.
yeah.
It's just like first he has to buy that lottery ticket.
Yes. So unless the work, see, if the work is going to take him, let us say 25 years. Some people are on year 1, some people are going on year 20.
Hmm.
So that's the difference.
Yeah, right.
Some have done the work, some are yet to do the work.
True. Right. Thank you.
Momita. It's good to thank ourselves for our efforts now and then. Yes, because you realize that even your effort is not under your control. So thank God somehow it happened. I don't know how I managed, but it happened. So good. Thank yourself. Because it's a reduction of ego. So I am not taking the onus of the fact that it happened. It happened. Thank you very much that it happened. Yes, we can thank ourselves. Well, so little is in our control, so little. Suppose you want to work very hard. See, Momita is doing this publications thing. Now, suppose she wants to work very hard, but something else happens in her life. God forbid something else happens to somebody else in her life. How will she do it? And every one of us is like so feeble and incapable. Anything, anywhere can change. You know, I have been very, very particular about these weekly classes for years. You all know about 30 odd years. The classes have gone more or less without interruption. And you all know that 2 years ago, I had this terrible back ailment. I can't take class. I mean, I just can't. So what is the use of any kind of arrogance saying, I do this, I do that? No, one thing has to change, everything will change. Now, Momita decided we should have this book as an audible. She came up with this idea. So, following our instructions, Reshma and I are trudging off to the recording studio to make this book. Now, we are both of us are very disciplined. Set our dates, we're going to go. And then I got a cold and a cough. Can I go and record? You'll all hear an amazing thing. What control do we have? So little. And yet, we are chandomarifying about our greatness. So, basically, moral of today's story is give it a rest. Give it a rest. Okay, so that's it. Very young.
Okay, thank you, Janki ji.
Thank you, Janki. Hari Om.
Thank you, Janki ma'am.
Thank you, Janki ji. Hari Om.
Om Janki ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Janki ji. Hari